Hey everybody, Scott Luton with you here on Supply Chain Now. I'm here in Columbus, Ohio at CHAINge 2025 with my fearless, esteemed guest co-host, Christine Barnhart. Christine, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Scott. How about you?
Wonderful. We've had hit after hit after hit of conversations here, right?
Yes, it's an amazing group of supply chain professionals here.
It is. It's like an episode of Christine and Friends. Very well connected, the Supply Chain Whisperer. But here, we are going to bring on our newest best friend, Bart DeMuynck, conference chair here at CHAINge. We're going to explore that. Head thinker with better supply chains. And as our audience, the smartest audience of global supply chain probably knows, an industry advisor and thought leader. Bart, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Hopefully I won't disappoint, and this might be the last hit, but I also don't want to be a one-hit wonder.
I doubt that. I'm confident.
You know, I wouldn't mind being a one-hit wonder because if you have the right song and the right hit, you probably get paid a lot of money for a long time.
Which one hit would you choose, though?
Oh, that's a tough question. I thought you had the answers, not the questions, Bart. All right, we're gonna have a little fun here today. And by the way, if you don't know this about Bart, he's a big-time music fan and a musical instrument player. Is that right?
I used to play trumpet and guitar.
How about that? And if you ever see him doing his great programming from his home studio, you'll see these gorgeous guitars back behind him.
Nice.
Do you play guitar?
I played guitar when I was younger.
Really?
I don't play anymore.
Okay. Well, we've had all kinds of musical analogies about global supply chain.
Yeah, we have.
So let's get to work here today. So Bart, again, great to see you here at CHAINge. We're going to explore your vision around change in a moment. But again, for the handful of folks out there that are new to Bart DeMuynck and your ecosystem, tell us a little bit about your journey and what you do now.
Yeah, first of all, appreciate you pronouncing my name correctly, because I know it's not your average name. It's because I come from Antwerp, Belgium. So not a common American name. I've been in supply chain for 33 years. I really started in Europe in supply chain, went very deep into logistics, working for a 3PL, an asset-based company. Then I had a couple of stints with technology startups in the early 2000s. Meantime, I'd moved to the UK, then moved to the US, where my wife is from. Spent 10 years at PepsiCo, so now on the shipper side in manufacturing, leading all their logistics, technology applications, portfolios. And then I moved to Gartner. I was a Gartner client at PepsiCo, and they approached me, and I led their transportation technology research for 8 years. I left, went to another technology company, and now the last 2 years I've been an independent advisor, mainly advising tech companies. I do a lot of work with VC private equity companies, and I do fun stuff like chairing a conference like we do here at CHAINge.
Well, I'm not sure when you get any sleep at night because you've got your finger in a lot of different things, helping a lot of organizations and leaders. But Christine, about change, and we're sitting here with the conference chair. I think we're going to explore his brain a little more.
I think we want to pick your brain a little bit, Bart. And you had a really clear vision of what you thought this event needed to be and how to curate the content. Talk to us a little bit about what your process was and kind of, where are we relative to your vision?
Yeah, I will say, first of all, CHAINge was already kind of rebranded before I came on board, so I can't take, credit for that. I thought it was a wonderful program, but then they really came to me as a chair. I've chaired Gartner conferences and other conferences before, so I had that background. And so I had a lot of ideas around what a really good supply chain conference should be, because one, I've chaired them. I've seen the good and the bad. I've seen the neutral parties. I've seen the paid for play versions of it as well. And the last 10 years, I've probably done anywhere from 30 to 50 conferences every year.
Wow.
So I kind of started thinking, as a supply chain professional, what should a supply chain conference look like that I really want to go to? Not just to be there and to do more than just networking, but really get value from it.
Right.
And that's how I looked at curating the content. I wanted it to be by the industry, for the industry. So that's why on the main stage, you really only see, the industry people, not vendors. It's not dominated by vendors at all. That's not why it is. Obviously, we do have sponsors, just like any conference. But to hear real stories and to layer that, it's a little bit like a 7-layer dip, where you go from the keynotes to the panels, makes it a little bit more interactive. You have then your deep dive sessions, but you also have things like Q&As, you have the roundtables, so that the audience isn't just listening, they become part of the conversation. Everyone has something that they can share. I always say, when you talk to people, every discussion is an opportunity to educate, and it's also an opportunity to learn. Right. So that's what we're doing here. It's all about education, innovation, and collaboration. Again, the human aspect of it is still central.
Okay, I know a couple of my favorite elements of what Bart just shared, but Christine, what were your favorite points you just made?
I think it's by the industry for the industry, right? So it's really putting your finger on the pulse of what are companies doing, what are people talking about, and then how can we bring them together to share in a collaborative way.
Yes.
Yeah, correct, right? And it's what really is interesting, and what do people need to know? Because a lot of conference nowadays, it's all about AI. Most companies aren't ready to do AI. So you might have heard the term AI here, but a lot of times shouldn't be the main focus. We really look at the foundation. So going back specific to ASCM, the SCORE model. How do you create that right foundation? So right now it's getting onto the new version, the SCORE DS model, going more digital. There's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done for companies to get there. Then you can start thinking about using more advanced technologies, but you need to do the hard foundational work.
Agreed. Can we just talk more about the 7-layer dip? Because now I'm starving now that you brought that up.
Yes, I didn't bring chips, but I got the dip.
Well, kidding aside, what Bart, you've expressed to me here in recent weeks is you love supply chain, you love music, and you love good food, right? And I think the three of us have all that in common, right?
We do.
Missing wine and travel, but
okay, wine and travel. That is a great list there. Yeah. We'll explore later. But also, kidding aside, the real stories element you mentioned, storytelling. Yeah. It may sound cliche to a lot of people, but you look at the research, look at data. When you can convey your position in the form of a story, you have like a 7x or 10x as much of an opportunity to bring people with you.
Yeah.
And for them to really understand what you're telling. Folks, invest in your storytelling ability. And then second thing, engaging the audience. I love what you said here, making them an active part of the conversations. It's a big thing we do in supply chain now. As much, the event we did the other day, as much as I loved hearing from you and Rose, I loved hearing what the audience had to say about the conversation, right?
Agreed.
It's a really cool, holistic opportunity. So I love that element here at CHAINge.
And I think the great thing as well is we have access to an incredible supply chain community through ASCM with practitioners that on stage can really bring real use cases. Right. So it isn't just this message in the ether that stays at a 20,000 foot that's more theoretical. Yes. These are people that are feeling the pain, that are doing it or have done it, and they can really share. And what do people want to hear? Not just like from experts, what should you do, but learn from others that have gone before them. We're all in different stages of our maturity. That's right. And we can learn from the people that have gone before us. And there may be other companies are more ahead in other parts. Yes. That's what we're trying to share.
Bart, I love it. I love it. Before I start asking Bart about the mission that he's on, anything you want to add? I love the difference in maturity levels and how we can have a very diverse conversation, because we'll learn from folks that are trailblazers, the good stuff and the bad stuff, and we'll learn from folks that are newer and have a fresher perspective, right?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the, speakers that have gotten their hands dirty, right? Like it's not academic. Yeah. It's a real story, and what I love is the vulnerability of some of the speakers, where they really will talk about, I didn't do this so well the first time. This is what I learned. Yep. Because that iterative process is so important.
Right. Yeah, I think this is a neutral organization. It's meant to educate people. So I think by definition, people feel more like they can share at a deeper level. Right. And that's what's great about it, because you hear the reality, not just the fluff.
Right. Yeah.
Got to keep it real. Got to keep it real. Folks, as you're examining a very busy, as you heard Bart say, 30 to 50 events per year for years. There's tons of events. Look for those that have that keep it real aspect to their DNA. Okay, Bart, you have been on a mission, and you continue this mission to improve lives through optimized, efficient, and innovative supply chain strategies. So as you survey the market and where we are, where this industry is, it's an exciting time, but it's a time full of chaos and complexity. And as we established here in our earlier conversations, lots of anxiety in the workforce, right? What opportunities do you see out there related to this mission you're on?
Yeah, I'd say there's a great opportunity for supply chains to have more focus on their people. The last 2 years, and I love technology, so don't get me wrong, but there's been an over-focus on the technology side and an under-focus on the people side. Companies and leaders need to focus on training their people, upskilling them, empowering them, creating a culture of innovation. That doesn't mean, oh, we're going to do AI. That is much broader, and it has to work both ways. It's leaders creating that culture, inviting sometimes new talent to the conversation, but then also being able to listen to that talent who can come with good ideas. Because the older folks, like we are, sometimes go like, why would we change a great process? It's working.
Right.
The younger generation comes in and go like, why are you doing it this way? Why aren't you using technology for that?
Right.
So you need to have that bi-directional conversation. And again, the people that have the institutional knowledge have almost like a responsibility to train the younger people, but at the same time, they can bring new perspectives, and we need to learn to listen to that. Once you do that, now you have an incredible opportunity to attract the right talent that is really going to help you to transform your organization. Because it's a little bit like you made the reference to music and guitar music. You can have the most beautiful guitar, but what is making that guitar sound good? It's the player.
That's right.
The musician is key. And a good musician can make a bad guitar sound good, but you can't have a bad musician make a good guitar sound good.
So Bart,
What a
you
great
got me
analogy.
thinking, in this era where we're seeing all sorts of robots do lots of different things in industry, to delivering pizza, to doing flips and all kind of cool things. I haven't seen a bot yet play musical instruments.
Well,
I have.
not
Have you?
guitars,
Yeah, I
but
I haven't seen it. Well,
I have.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
they
not that hard, to be honest, robots playing music, because
about jazz.
it's exact. The thing is, it doesn't have the same feeling.
Yes.
And just as robots can't play a guitar as good as a human because they don't have the feelings, a lot of times you go, I want the latest and greatest new technology. Well, what do you see with top musicians? They want the old technology. They want like a 60s Stratocaster,
Right.
a 60s Gibson Les Paul, because it was manufactured in a different way. It was done almost manual rather than created by machines.
Yes.
So there's a lot of differences. And in supply chains as well, there are opportunities to put in robots. Why? Because in certain parts, for example, the warehouse, we have a labor shortage. We're not replacing people really. We are replacing shortage of people with robots.
Right.
In other parts, we don't have really too many people that we need to replace, or a gap. We're actually having not enough people. So there, we need to involve the technology to live side by side with the people so they can handle more volume. Because I think all of us, we have a lot more work now than we ever have, because people retire, they get other jobs, they no longer get backfilled in organizations.
right.
That and Christine, people have changing preferences in terms of the work they want to do.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed. I mean, I think kids that are, in that, what are they, Gen Zs? Gen Zers. But the kind of work that they want to do, they don't want rows and columns. They don't like repetitive tasks. They're like, why can't we automate this? Like, so I love it. I love where the generations are kind of coming together to solve problems in a different way.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I love that rows and columns. I'm going to steal that from you, Christine. But one last thing before we shift gears, and we're going to talk about some key themes for an event you were leading, is my friend Tandria Bellamy, one of our esteemed co-hosts at Supply Chain Now. In a recent conversation, we were talking about a lot of these shifts that all three of us are talking about here. And she was really challenging leaders and challenging also individuals, because we all own our professional development, right? No one else does, we all. And she said, don't be analog in this growing digital world. And it was such a really cool t-shirt-ism, but it's so true. Whether you're leading, to your point, the younger generations expect technology to especially taking care of the blocking and tackling in any organization, or flipping it up, whether it's your own professional journey. Hey, you got to learn something new every single day.
True, but the one thing I will say that maybe I disagree with you a little bit,
all right.
it is the responsibility of the organization and leadership to provide that platform to develop. If they don't do, and I'm going to develop myself on my own time, guess what's going to happen? I'm probably going to take my talent somewhere else.
100%.
That's a completely fair point, and I think we actually agree. I think the difference for me is that personal accountability. While organizations should do what you're describing, unfortunately, all too often they don't.
Right.
And if we look at this from an individual perspective, I know Scott Luton here. No one's going to guarantee me anything career-wise. I've got to own that, and I've got to make sure that I'm the one finding the learning opportunities. Even if, to your point, organizations should provide that.
I think
to
it
the
has to be a
workforce.
cooperative effort. I
Yes.
think you, as the employee, have to be willing,
Yes.
and you have to ask. I think sometimes, but I think the organization has to be amenable to supporting you on that
That's right.
journey.
And I would say maybe a quick plug for the conference.
Okay.
This could be, again, as a neutral organization, and we have a lot of members here, a way that people say, hey, send them to the conference as a way to learn and to educate them.
Agreed.
And people get valued. It's like, hey, my employer is sending me to this conference. So,
Yes.
and it's value because you get people back that come back with good information, that do their job better, and they kind of feel valued, so they're going to stick with you.
You know, one last point, and then I promise, Christine, we'll get to those key themes. We just met prior to this interview 3 incredibly bright students from Western Washington University. And I love that students that are learning, and in many ways already doing, but learning the craft, they're here, they're participating,
Yeah.
they're speaking.
They had great feedback.
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Christine, where are we going next?
Well, there's another new component to CHAINge this year, which is the Chief Supply Chain Officer Summit or track.
Yep.
And I know you participated in that yesterday and led part of the workshop. What were some key themes and takeaways that you got from that new event?
Yeah, and the goal was really to say we want to have a program for those leaders to kind of talk about some of the harder topics that they need to hear as well, that maybe doing that on a larger stage isn't the right environment. But I think the discussion is like the long road that we have ahead of us in supply chains. And sometimes we don't want to admit that, but when you're in smaller groups and people feel comfortable because you're not on the big stage, in that room it was all chatting rules. So basically it stayed in the room, or whatever I tell you. I'm not going to tell you any names or companies, but I can tell you kind of the overall feelings, and people kind of say, yes, we have those issues. Yes, we're not as far, but we want to get there. Right. So, and the goal isn't to kind of say, oh, or criticize like, oh, yeah, you aren't doing this or that. But it's like, to advance, you also need to understand where you're at, right? Yep. And it's a little bit like a marathon. People sometimes say the hardest part of the marathon is that last mile. I would say it's the first mile. Because if you don't get at the starting line, you can't finish. It's the same with change and transformation. You need to start, but you also need to realize, where am I starting?
Right.
Am I at the 0 mile line? Am I at the 10 mile line? And again, in this educational collaborative environment, we're there to support, to help the transformation, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but that's my passion, is to make supply chains better, to make the organization better, the people better, the environment better. And guess what? If we all work together on that, we're all going to get better.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's like a musical piece he just played for us there.
He's a conductor.
So, no, kidding aside, I love the passion. And even better than the passion is the immense opportunity we have to do global supply chain better, especially for our hardworking human element that go into facilities every day, work their tail off to make things happen. We owe it to them. Kind of going back to the point you were making earlier, we do owe it to them to change how we do work. Okay, so I want to broaden out Christine's last question, the supply chain whisperer's last question. So dominant themes here. I think we're about a day and a half in to CHAINge North America 2025, but you were also at the European component.
Yep.
CHAINge, which took place where?
In Brussels in June.
Brussels in June. So when you combine, I'll tell you what, 2-part question. What's one dominant theme that we're at both?
Yep.
And then maybe what's a unique theme that you've heard here in the last day and a half?
Yeah, something that maybe people, when they go to other conferences, they think it's all about the technology, all about the AI. They still understand that it's about the people. It's also about the fact that it's not kind of the technology at the edge that we need to change. We need to change core strategies, core processes, and then add technology. Sometimes it's very basic technologies, right? Because we know there's still a lot of access databases, AS400, spreadsheets
crazy
out there. The reality, and students, Because they learn about AI and API and they come in an organization and it's all pen and paper and Excel spreadsheet,
Rows
right?
and columns.
So,
Rows and columns.
so how do you get to that reality? How do you give them the tools to advance? And I think other than that, what I still see is, although people go like, well, everything's digital and we automate, you see the willingness and really the need for people to work together in their organization. But you see that with the roundtables. People really linger to have that human connection. That's why some of these tasks you cannot automate and you shouldn't automate. The other part is supply chains often are siloed. With all this technology, the downside of that is that sometimes we lose the willingness to just go to someone and talk. We do it through email,
Right.
to Slack, which by the way, I hate Slack.
I love Slack.
I don't like Slack.
I'm with Bart.
because it takes the human element away. When I started in supply chain, we might not have had the technology, but you walk over to someone and you have that discussion. You know how sometimes disconnected supply chain functions are?
Yes.
Because they don't talk. So they go like, oh, you have that data? I can use that data. Oh, you can use that data? I didn't know. Well, maybe if once in a while you get together and have the conversation,
Yes.
you would know that.
It's so interesting to me that you point that out, because one of the things that I've seen repetitively recently is, we'll have workshops with, various large brands that people have heard of, and you'll get, supply chain, manufacturing, purchasing, planning. You get them all in a room together, and it's like the first time that they've actually sat and talked about it, and somebody will say, no, this is the process, and then somebody on the other side of the room is like, no, that's not the process, and you're like, oh, I think we understand why we have a problem here, right? So I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm a technology person too. I'm an early adopter generally, but we really have to focus on the people. And I think we really have to focus on our core processes. And then the technology becomes an augmenter and an enabler.
Yeah, and I would say even in my role as advisor, right? There's a lot of talk about we don't need consultants, we don't need advisors, AI is going to change all of that. What I see with most people, more than ever with all the complexity and maybe all of the, not knowing the technology, is they want to talk to a person. Right. They trust a person rather than, can you always trust ChatGPT?
Sure.
I don't know, it's given me some weird results.
Oh no, that part makes all three of us. The hallucinations that AI has, and folks, if that sounds weird, go check it out, because it's a formal term tied to AI. But AI at times in my experimentations really believes what it's telling you is completely accurate, and it's completely false.
It lies. I caught them on lies because it would give me examples, because I asked it for examples, and then when I said, give me the source of that example, they had to admit, I don't have it.
So I'm not going to speak for Christine and Bart. It's amazing what we're doing with artificial intelligence. Absolutely amazing. However, it's equally as amazing what we're doing with the human component, whether it's advisors, whether it's incredible folks in our facilities, and how we walk that very fine line to leverage and use the superpowers inherent in both. That's the billion-dollar question. So we'll see. Who knows? There might be robots playing guitars in 10 years, but not yet.
They will, but I will say no one's going to want to listen to that.
I tend to agree with you. Okay, so we have covered a lot of ground here. Bart, one final question for you, also a billion-dollar question. How can folks connect with all the cool things you're doing and have a real conversation, not on Slack, with one Bart DeMuynck?
A lot of different ways, supply chain now being one way. And I thank you for having the platform, because you give voice to people like me, and that allows to connect and educate. And I think that's a big, important role, to give people a voice and a platform to connect to people. But it's fairly easy. They connect through LinkedIn. They can connect either through my website, bartdemuynck.com, or bettersupplychains.com, which is my thought leadership website, where I do a lot of work, a lot of articles, research. And again, my focus is how do I use some of my experiences that I have, sometimes in working with other people. I do a lot of stuff in collaboration and partnership, and use at least my experience as well to share that with others and educate others. I feel like we all, especially when we get a little bit older in the workforce, need to also have that responsibility to give back and educate the other generation, either people newer to supply chain or younger generation like our students coming. And I sometimes go and talk at universities, and like you said, these kids, they eat it up.
Yes.
When I studied, there was no supply chain study. Supply chain wasn't even a term that was being used. And now you see kids that are passionate, that want to learn.
Yes.
So let's feed them because they still absorb it like sponges.
Absolutely.
And they're going to change and continue the change of how global supply chain happens. And that's great news. Really good news to me. And a quick shout out also to the University of Arkansas, doing great things. Dr. Stephanie Thomas and Rod Thomas and many others there. All right, Christine, I've got the $1 billion question. We've covered a lot of ground with one Bart DeMuynck. Again, the conference chair here at CHAINge. Kudos to you and the whole team that have orchestrated a great event. What is your favorite thing, one of them, in terms of a key thought that Bart has shared here over the last 15 minutes?
I love that Bart is reinforcing that supply chains are people-centric, and that, you know, it's not about replacing people. It's about really helping people have a better quality of their job, and do more within their job. I mean, I love it. I think I could not echo it more.
Yes.
And Scott,
Roles will change.
roles will
There's no way, but that doesn't mean you're going to change out those people. Again, educate them so they're ready for those new roles, right? I mean, technology does that. I mean, there's hardly any people typing up letters anymore, doing copying and faxing, because computers took away at that. There's no people coming to your house every day with ice blocks for your ice box, because we have electric fridges. So it's normal that jobs change. The good thing is, roles don't just change, new roles are getting created.
Yes.
And that's the other thing with technology. Don't look at it as AI is going to replace me. My role is going to be different, but if you know about it, it's going to improve. And then a lot of new roles are going to be created.
I completely agree. And that's been the case with every technological age. What do they call them in history? Not technology age.
technology revolution.
Yes, industrial.
Yes.
Thank you very
Industrial
much,
revolution.
Bart and Christine.
The risk is that right now they're coming at us faster and faster.
Right, that's true.
And then they're so fast that it is kind of daunting.
It is absolutely daunting, and you know we've talked about and addressed some of the anxiety out there. So going back, bringing it full circle, folks, leaders, organizational leaders, hey, put your finger on the pulse. Really go out there and listen, like we were talking about earlier. Listen to your workforce, find out what they're concerned with, and of course, as Bart and Christine both spoke to, be committed to investing in their skills and their professional development. So that is really good news. So Bart DeMuynck, Conference Chair with CHAINge, Head Thinker with Better Supply Chains, Industry Advisor and Thought Leader. Thank you for being here, Bart.
Thanks for having me, Christine and Scott.
Christine Barnhart, the beat goes on, the Supply Chain Whisperer. Always a pleasure. We've got more good stuff coming, huh?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right, let's go.
Getting it done.
GSD, getting stuff done. Folks, hope you enjoyed this last conversation. Stay tuned as we continue our coverage here in Columbus at CHAINge North America 2025. And whatever you do, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. We'll see you next time right back here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.